This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.
Hey, Kiani.
Yeah.
Have you ever found in your journey of business that you've sort of really struggled to bring your personal life and your business life together?
Yeah, constantly. I feel like that's probably the biggest challenge that I've faced, not only as a business owner, but as a female, as a parent, as a human, as a partner. They always tend to clash.
I reckon we have some conversations, bring in some guests and talk about humanising business, because if we do that, then maybe we can be the same person 24/7.
Yeah, let's shed some light on this topic that can be quite convoluted and make it somewhat more simple.
I reckon that sounds cool, because after all, business is life and life is business.
Welcome back to, I went to say Beauty in the Palm, but we're humanising business, aren't we? Andy, welcome back. It's good to see your face and speak to you.
I know, it feels like it's been an eternity. Gang, we've been missing each other over the course of the last few weeks. Life sort of gets in the way from time to time. And as a result, we've been going through our bank of episodes, and now we are back. We are in the game. We are revitalized, refreshed, refocused. Yeah. Except for we forgot what the name of the show is called now.
Well, I didn't forget. I was just in a bit of a rolling pattern of Beauty in the Palm, but we've tried to expand a little bit, which we've spoken about, and I guess that brings me right around to the topic that we're going to talk about this week, which is what the hell does humanizing business actually mean? And we have asked our guests as they've come on, but I thought it'd be a really cool thing to dive into our analogy of what this means.
It's a bit bizarre. We probably should have done this before now, to be fair. But
kind of like the fact we didn't, just keep it interesting. And look, that's a reality too. Everyone's got their own interpretation of what it means, because as we've very clearly highlighted, we don't want this podcast to be specifically for one type of person. We want it to be able to reach the business owners, the stay-at-home mums, the solopreneurs, the employers, the employees, the people that are looking for work or trying to figure out what their life path is. So, not a great marketing resource, but we have left our demographic pretty open. And this topic around humanizing business, I feel, can be so relevant and transferred into so many different scenarios. So from your perspective, Andy Reid, what do you think humanizing business means?
There's a couple of layers to it, right? It's a bit like Shrek. There's a couple of layers to it.
The onion.
The onion. My initial thoughts around humanizing business, this is way back when, was the fact that people can be who they are and be successful at the same time. I put myself in a real spin because I was constantly trying to keep up appearances and validate my existence by enslaving myself to the game of whatever it is I was doing. And it took a mental breakdown to realize that realistically, I am the only reason why I can be successful, and therefore it's probably not a bad idea to be who I am, and really sort of take the shackles off my trains of thought and so on and so forth. Because I'm sure there's lots of people that will be listening to this that can empathize with the fact that how many times, gang, have you had thoughts that have been really, really good, and then you've kept them to yourself because either you don't feel you got the platform or you don't have the right to get them out and about, and then you see some other flog say it. And you go, all right, man, I said that. I was thinking that. Why didn't I say it? And the amount of times that was happening to me was just off the charts. Not that, I have loads of amazing thoughts, but occasionally one pops out. And so that's my initial interpretation, my initial reason for wanting to humanize business. The other thing is the accessibility to business, is that any human can do business, right? And the thing is, whenever people talk about business people and running businesses and what have you, perception from outside, especially for employees and whatnot, is the fact that you have to be good at loads of stuff in order to run and own a business. And especially coming from the UK, where entrepreneurship for me is it's not bastardized, but it's certainly not promoted in any way, shape, or form. And coming over to this country where I had my eyes open to the fact that you can, don't want to sound cliche, but live life by design if you really want to. The fact that we are looking to make business more accessible for human beings that don't have an ego, but do have a purpose or do have a passion, but don't feel that they have the place to be successful or to have a business of any kind. So that's my version of it in a nutshell. What about you?
Well, it's really cool on how you've been able to link it to you personally, which is, I guess, that internal. And then you've been able to link it to the affordability that we've got in this, country of the land of free. There's a saying in that. There is something about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, country-wise. So we are very lucky here in Australia. We've got copious amounts of opportunity that other countries just don't have. So you made an interesting comment about having no ego. I wish everyone in business had no ego. But for those of us that are out there trying to make the world a better place and not necessarily running at it with just trying to make more money, kind of, take from the poor to serve themselves kind of thing, I think it's a beautiful opportunity. We're so lucky. We're so blessed in this country. It's a beautiful thing that we've got. And, we're very grateful for having you here so that you can spread your little joy and rainbow through all of us. Where do you think that the link for you, probably personally, humanizing business, where you saw the greatest impact from stopping being who you thought you had to be for everybody and then bringing your human side into business a little bit more? Is there a time or a standout moment where you see that the impact has been great from doing that?
Big time. So I was always myself through the hospitality game, but I didn't realize it, right? I just didn't realize I was doing my thing and was pretty successful with that. It was actually about 10 or 11 months into my real estate sales life where I was at wit's end. I was screwed. Like I was about to put myself into a padded cell because my first week in real estate, I sold 3 houses in 1 week and I thought, shit, this is really good. And then I started to learn about real estate. I then started going into textbook real estate mode and old school ways of not old school, but traditional ways of thinking about the industry and how you work it and how you're successful in it and all that sort of jazz. And the more I got into that, the less successful I was becoming and the more frustrating it got. So then I'd go try and learn something else, which would then not work again. And it was like a vicious circle, right? And really compound my misery. And I didn't get a hit for, it was like 5-6 months or something. It was really desperate stuff. And I was about to pack it in. And it was just a moment where I just thought, fuck it. I'm just going to, one last go. I'm just going to be me and see if that works. And it was, and it's not a coincidence. It's not like I was working towards it. And then it just all came to fruition by accident. I went from listing nothing within like 5-6 months. I then listed like 7 or 8 or 6 or 7 or 8 or something the next month. And it was no coincidence in any way, shape or form. So there was very much a switch. It wasn't over a course of time. It was just a switch where I was at the end of my tether and it was either do that or piss off. And I'm really grateful. It was a massive slap in the face because, we've all got one unique selling point, right? It's who we are. And, especially in real estate land, the sales side of things, it's all binary. We're all bound by legislation. Nothing can change. So there's only the one thing that you've got to work on, that you've got to play with, really, and that's who you are. So, and I just found that by being unapologetic in who I was, the amount of extra respect, not only did I have for myself, but I found that others had for me. It was like chalk and cheese because we give this aura off, right? You either give a bullshit aura off or you give a truly who you are, undeniable. I'm not going to say authentic because that gets used too much. It's an undeniable aura that is like, you can't knock it. You can't say that isn't who he or she is. And And it's since that moment I've been working on it. It's been what's that, like an 11-year process, 12-year process to now, and I'm getting there.
Yeah, well, we do tend to change over that time period too. So we kind of had to re-meet ourselves and introduce ourselves to the world all over again. And it's a process, yeah.
It's like becoming a parent, right? Just as soon as you think you've got it licked, shit changes, and then you gotta go revisit. It's like snakes and ladders.
Oh, far out. I actually said to Kobe the other day, I was like, mate, I have no idea what I'm doing. I am winging it every single day. So help me out. Tell me what you need, because I can't fucking read the stars. I don't know what you need. Just use your words, because I'm flying solo and blind with my hands tied behind my back.
And that's how it feels, right? That's how it feels. You feel so lost when you get a jolt like that. And I think another part of this humanizing business thing is acknowledging that it's not like anyone has a perfect run. No one has a perfect run. And I think accepting the vulnerabilities within your business and within who you are and your operation, your mindset and your knowledge and all that, you need to do that, because then you don't have any blind spots. And if you haven't got any blind spots in your own personal game or in your business's framework or whatever, then you can see problems before they come, and you can see and you can brace yourself, or depending on what it is, or predetermine how your reaction is going to be based off the fact that you know that you suck at X, Y, and Z. And then when something comes along that requires you to take action in one of those things, right, I know I'm shit at this, so I can either not do it or knock it back if it's a bit of business or whatever that's out of your sphere, but you're tempted because it's money, but blah, blah, blah. Or you already know that you need to outsource it. So you cost that into whatever it is that you're doing. You outsource it to someone who does know what they're doing. And you then get to play in the places that you're happy to play in.
That's a big one, learning to say no.
Oh, God, I wish I learned that one quicker. To be fair.
That one brings things that smacks you in the face, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's always the shit that you're not sure about, team, that you take on going, should I? Oh, should I? And then it goes to shit. Like, it's always it's like the client that whittled you down to next to nothing in a commission, and, that ends up being a pain in the arse, or
always.
Every time. What about you, Key? What's humanizing business for you?
Yeah, definitely kind of a similar thread. However, I felt really strongly for me as a business owner at business, I had to be a certain way. And then as a single parent at home, I had to be a totally different way. So in business, I had to show up as this, strong female in a male-dominated industry, being, ruthless and decisions and always looking perfect and having my hair done, my makeup done, good clothes and all those kinds of things, that perception of perfection. And then I'd go home over night time and have tiny little humans that just wanted to crawl onto my lap and read a book with me. And I'd have to turn my mind off work to be able to give them what they needed. And that was a really, really hard thing to do. So I felt like I had to create a home mum version and then a work Kiani version. And they were so different and they needed such different things from me. And then I realized after a little while that I was really struggling to swap between the hats. And I'd get home and I'd still be in work mode, and my kids were, climbing up the walls or, feeling neglected. Or then I'd come into work and be feeling guilty about what I hadn't done for the kids. And then I'd miss something at work and I'd be like, oh my God, what am I doing? And it was this constant push-pull. And for me, introducing this concept of humanizing business was the balance. It's like, well, as you said, you don't have to be one way there and I have to be another way at home. It's how do I find my authentic self to be able to be all of it as one?
Yeah.
One of it is all, because work also needs me to be nurturing and caring and in my, feminine elements. It doesn't always need to be this strong, powerful bitch. But then at home as well, my home life needs me to have a strong masculine because I'm a single parent. So I have to play both roles. It doesn't always need, fluffy human over there. So, but I saw a massive kind of like muddying of the waters and creating that real kind of, instead of there being separation, because there was separation and that's why things got muddy. it then was like, well, no, it's one for all and all for one. And all of a sudden the path became clearer. And it wasn't as overwhelming. And as we've spoken about before this episode, there's still overwhelm. There is still life that is overwhelmed, but there is a hell of a lot more clarity because I turn up to every situation who I am, regardless of whether it's work or home or business or partner or whatever. I don't have to be another way. Like, I don't have to think about who I am or who they need or what I need to turn up. Be me. And that's been really, really satisfying. And then similarly, from the business perspective, there was a lot of kind of mentality around in my industry around conveyancers and lawyers. And if you're not a lawyer, you don't have enough. If you're just a conveyancer, you're only a conveyancer. So there was resentment. Seeing the beauty in the specialty that a conveyancer offers and seeing the necessary need when things do need a lawyer, it became clear from a humanizing business perspective that there is a need for both of us. It's not a competition. It's not one or the other. You genuinely need both in some situations, not every situation, but where that situation is needed, there is a need for both. So it's not coming from a scarcity or a lack perspective of you're only a conveyancer or you're an asshole lawyer and you're going to charge me $10,000. It's like, well, no. In those moments of trials and tribulations, you need a lawyer. And if it costs you $10,000, that's better than $100,000. And in those trials where you need the specialist advice and you've got your conveyancer by your side. So because I really took that and I became really resentful of law firms. And then I became really resentful of being a conveyancer. I was like, hold on a second. A bit like as a human, we have identity crises. I was, one way of hating both of them and going, this isn't me at all. Where's the abundance in this? And where's it's the push, the pull, the push, the pull, the push, the pull, and landing in the balance and going, okay, it's okay. We need both. No one's right, no one's wrong, no one's bad or good. For me, it really feels like we go from having such strong opinions one way or the other, and then maybe letting go of those opinions a little bit to see the other side and create a bit of balance and harmony. So that's where, to me, weaving in the human and weaving in the business, it becomes a bit of a dance and a cohesion between the two, as opposed to, I mean, I know for a lot of times, as my mum was a single mum and she worked her ass off, and I was really resentful because mum was always at work. But if mum wasn't at work, then we wouldn't have a house, we wouldn't have had food, we wouldn't have had clothes. So, and look, I mean, children, they're allowed to have those thoughts because all they worry about their safety and their needs being met and things like that. But as an adult, we have a little bit more control over what we understand of the world. And as we become parents ourselves, we see the necessity. I've been through that with my kids. So many times they're like, Mum, get off the phone. Mum, stop working. Come and play with us. So it's the dance and finding the balance between the both.
This whole thing of identity, I think, is unbelievably critical as well, because if we're planning on starting our own business, right, then essentially it's our DNA that's going to be all over this business. So so another part of humanizing business is, how do you create this avatar for your business that represents who you are, and as well as what you are? Because lots of businesses, they do lots of the same things, but trying to create a point of difference is something that most business owners really, really struggle with, because they miss the trick, because they're too busy worrying about what it is that they are doing as opposed to who they are within that task, right? So when you're talking about the identity piece there, that was what was really ringing in my head, was taking ownership of who you are as a human, but as a business as well, at being an extension of who you are. Is insanely important, because whenever lots of us, we've all done it, when we're thinking about starting a business, first thing we think about is, right, what's going to be the most impressive thing for the market? Like, what's going to be how am I going to impress my customers as much as I possibly can? And generally speaking, it takes 2, 3, 4 iterations of business evolving and whatnot to get anywhere near the right one. Because your first one, you're too busy worrying about them, and then the next one, you're probably too busy worrying about you, and then eventually you'll get to some sort of a happy medium where you come up with a brand that represents who you are, but then is acceptable for the marketplace that you're looking to target. That identity thing's huge, and I don't think there's enough people to do it. You look at it in recruitment side, people always advertise what they do and what the job is there for, like what the job entails, what the job pays. But for that human that's thinking about moving jobs or whatever, they need to be able to identify with the organization to really have a vested interest in becoming a part of the organization, right? But we don't articulate, very few businesses can articulate who they are as a business, right? Who that avatar is, to allow humans to even connect with them in the first place. I love it. I love that identity piece. And of course, the balance thing, like we've said, like business is life and life is business.
Yeah, correct. But also too, and that's a really important part that you made, especially for people who do start new businesses, I find a lot of them do get so caught up in outside, in what their competitors are doing or what other people are doing. And this is where, I mean, look, there's definitely going to be people that are going to come at me and go, Kiani, that is wrong. And I probably know that I should look at it a little bit more, but I never look at my competitors. I don't know who my competitors are. I mean, I could probably tell you off the top of my head who are the bigger conveyancing companies. Yeah, great. But I don't know what marketing they're doing. I don't know what their fees are doing. I don't know what their frigging campaigns are. Rightly or wrongly, I don't worry about them because I know that the service that we offer is based on my values as a human, because they spread across my company and all of the beautiful staff that we've got under it. The referral partners that we work for work with us because of those values and those ethics. Therefore, the clients that get sent to us appreciate those values and those ethics. So we end up with this beautiful pool of great humans who all want the same outcome, and that's trust, transparency, cohesion, and at the end of the day, a dream home. But sometimes when you get so caught up in what others are doing out there that you don't put enough of the heart and the soul into it, because they're doing this and they're doing that, and maybe I should do this and maybe I should do that. Well, no. Why are we starting the business in the first point? For our clients. Why do our clients want to come to us? Because of us. Especially in an industry where, you're right, every conveyancer has the same offer. We do the same service, whatever way you want to spin it.
Yep.
Especially in Victoria, we all have to use PEXA. We're all digital now. There's no way to spin that. But people keep coming back because of the experience they've had. And that is a true reflection and direct impact from the leadership team in that company. If you want to create a successful business, start with the why. Simon Sinek, great book, if anyone wants to read that. Start with the why. Why are we doing this? When you know the why, the what and the how will naturally follow. And that's the identity.
If you're not into reading, start with his TED Talk.
Oh, yeah.
Start with his TED Talk. That gives you the flavor that will encourage you to either go get the book or get it on audio. There's the audio book version there as well.
Yeah, download Audible, and you can all of the amazing books on Audible if you're a listener instead of a reader. But that TED Talk is incredible. Yeah, and I've based so many of my presentations and actually even my internal communication presentation that I deliver to every new staff member so that they can understand our values, our ethics, and how we communicate with our clients. I've based it all on that book.
Yeah.
Start with the why.
Well, I break down the real estate industry. I break down salespeople into those three categories and sort of use it to demonstrate why so many real estate agents struggle with commission challenges, because they don't do anything to offer any discernible value beyond what they do. And so 80% of the industry is sat in a transactional frame of mind where they just tell people what they do. And because they're in a different brand color, they expect them to be better, right? It's all the same shit. So if you're not offering anything beyond that transaction, then why should consumers pay more than the lowest commission if you're all offering the same stuff? Why would they just donate you money? Because they like the color yellow or blue, right? Seriously.
And that's a really good point, though. Real estate's a great example of this, because go back 10 years ago, even 15 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, I don't really know timeframes, but if we look back at the way real estate was done, the main prerogative was who you worked for and what big brand you sat under. Whereas now, look at real estate agents. Real estate agents market themselves as a real estate agent and just happen to work for a brand. Marketing is so beautiful in this day and age because it is personalized, so that we can find that unique selling point in each one of our agents. While, yes, depending on which company you work for, there may be a scope that you have to sit within for, social media and all those kinds of things. But I've really loved and enjoyed seeing our individual agents step up into their unique selves under a brand, because the person who is selling the home is the person that the vendor is paying. Like, yes, they're paying the brand because it's marketing and it's exposure and things like that. But ultimately, that person that stands on that listing, they're buying that person.
Mm.
And I think it's a beautiful thing that we're seeing this real estate industry open up to that and be a lot, I'm going to say, more acceptable. Maybe they're accepting the individual sales agents as opposed to the brand. Would you agree, Andy? Do you feel that?
Yeah, you're right. I think like another example that I found to be really relatable, just because of my sports obsession, was I was actually listening to a boxing promoter, and a very prominent boxing promoter, and he was saying how it's gone from the promoter owning the boxer, the fighter, to the promoter serving the fighter, because the fighter has all the clout now, has all the cards because of their accessibility.
I love that.
And that's just such a wonderful way of showing that your product is who you are. It's not like the old school promoters where what they had was fights and the fighters were a byproduct. The fighters, who they are the product. The fights are the byproduct of who they are. And the gate and the revenue and the pay-per-view and all that is as a byproduct of who that boxer is. And no more so than now, you don't have to be the best boxer in the world, because if who you are stands out from all the other boxers because you're such an individual, you will make bank. You will do extremely well, because people will pay the pay-per-view money for who you are, not what you are. Conor McGregor is...
I was just about to say that.
Conor McGregor is an example. He is the perfect example, because he is not the best fighter in the world. He's one of the best strikers, absolutely. Conor McGregor is a mixed martial arts fighter, for those of you who don't know, by the way. But you probably will know him because him as a persona has become one of the most marketable commodities on the planet, bar none.
Yeah.
And this is just a young lad from a rough part of Dublin who just backed who he was and was just being who he was at all times. And it was so different because he wasn't playing to the cameras or playing to the media rules, or he was doing what he wanted, when he wanted, how he wanted to do it. Yes, some people could argue that he was being a brat at various times and what have you, but he had his purpose, he had his values, and he stuck to his guns. And off the back of it, signed a $500 million deal, right? One of the biggest fights ever to have been made with Floyd Mayweather. So, it's not the best fight that Floyd Mayweather's been in the ring with by a stretch, but because of who he was, it made it the most marketable fight ever. And that's what you need to look at your business. That's how you need to look at your business. It's not what you do. It's who you are within what you do that determines the value that you end up bringing.
I love that. What a way to wrap it all up.
And on that note, I've got all fired up. I've got to go and do a talk now. I'm in Hobart. I've got to go do a talk right now. And I'm really fired up.
I'm quickly going to jump in and just mention that this will be airing well and truly with enough time to come and watch Andy do his fight. We're going to watch Andy in the boxing ring, get the gloves on the 1st of April. We are going to sit ringside and support this amazing human in his fight. So if any of our listeners want to come along, please reach out, because we would love to have your support at the fight. He's going to do amazingly well. And again, it's not about how good of a boxer he is. It's about what he's bringing. And we know that he's got a lot of passion behind that. And I know he's been training really freaking hard. So I'm looking forward to that.
I am too, but shit, I better win.
Yeah, it's not all about winning, Andy.
No, it really is. It absolutely is. In this one particular instance, gang, do as I say, not as I do. It is about winning in this instance.
All right.
Because losing's painful when you're in a boxing ring.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of us there to support you. So I'll bring the congratulatory flowers.
Yes, you can just toss into the ring and whatnot, like a gladiator.
Love it.
Nice. Key.
All right. Beautiful time to wrap it up. Enjoy your speech. Good luck.
Thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, gang. Kiani is off to, as we're recording this, she's going to be heading off to Paris to go stun the world with her purple pill and absolutely smash the crap out of that and really open doors to open a lot of eyes around the world. So you're gonna be listening to an internationally renowned speaker as of next week or something.
That's the 8th of March.
Shit, gang, we're in a steam company, right? We're in a steam company. There's me getting the shit kicked out of me whilst Kiana goes swanning around Paris, becoming this world rock star. So yeah.
I don't leave Paris with a black eye.
Definitely don't. Although, no, I won't talk about Parisians and upsetting people. No, I will. I'll keep the palm in. Yep. All right, gang. Look after yourselves. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are very grateful for your time and we really hope that we've provided some value.
Follow us on Instagram if you've liked what you've heard, and if you have anything that you want us to talk about, things that might have been bugging you but you've not quite had the bottle to really bring it out into the open, send us a DM and we'll happily bring it to the table.